I think we're recording.
Yeah,
I
okay,
think we're good.
you're good.
Yeah.
We all ready?
Mhm.
Okay. Put your mics on. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to the May 11th, 2026 regular city commission meeting starting at 6:01 PM. Okay, let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now approval of the agenda. What's the pleasure of the commission?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support. All right, Abby, call the roll.
Mayor Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorolla?
Yes.
Commissioner Obry?
Yes.
Commissioner Ventney?
Yes.
All right, now for public comment, this is for items on the consent agenda or not on our agenda. Please come up to the podium, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Says on. Yes. My name's Tim Johnson. I live in the city block from where I was born. This is just a reminder, from my letters to you that I have a lot of respect for you, and I've told that to you, a couple of you in person. So I'm not here to bust your chops. I know that the staff has a lot to do. The staff is really busy. And I know that the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So I'm here just to remind you about switching the parking on Lions Park Drive from the west side of the street to the east side of the street. South of Park, there's all the driveways are on the west side. So if parking was on the east side, you get a few more parking places. North of Park, it's kind of even, but I think it looks like there's more. You'll have a couple more cars able to park on the east side if you switch it over. So again, just a reminder. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay. Oh, are you coming up? Okay.
Hi, Anna Abdelnar, Blossom Time Festival, 1910 Lakeshore Drive, City of St. Joe resident. I would like to thank the City of St. Joe and the City of Benton Harbor for allowing us to have the parade this past Saturday. It was beautiful, and it's hard to believe that the festival is celebrating its 120th year, and the City of St. Joe has been an intricate part of that since the beginning. Our first parade was in 1923, and it ran the loop around Chicago. In 1924, the first parade held in St. Joseph was on May the 14th, 1924. This year, we started out with 109 units, and it's grown sufficiently since 24. We had 30 floats at that time, and we had 2 marching bands. Today, we are proud to announce that we had over 1,500 parade participants marching down the road. And I don't know how many were on the roadside yet, but I will find that out. But it's hard to believe that something that was started for an agriculture-based festival, and it has grown into something. I like to think that Blossom Time Festival is the beginning of the kickoff of the summer season in the City of St. Joe, and it kind of welcomes our visitors and tourists to see what we have to offer. There's so many people here that I'd like to thank, but yet my list, I'm going to keep it somewhat short. I'd like to thank the City Manager, Emily Hackworth, the Public Safety Director, Steve Newbecker, Public Works, Greg Rothaus, City Commissioners, Mayor Thomas, Mayor Pro Tem Michael Fernandez, Commissioner Sorolla, Commissioner Ogilvy, and Commissioner Ventney. I thank you, each one of you, for approving our parade and allowing us to come down to your streets to take a chance on people who aren't really in law enforcement or safety, and let us take over and command the streets. But we wouldn't be able to do that without the City of St. Joe Public Safety. And so we are honored that you will allow us this privilege. It's always something special for me when I get out here at 6 a.m. and I start walking the streets and things are just starting to go down, go down. I see the blankets laying down at 7 a.m. But one of the things I'm always it really warms my heart. And as a city resident, for all of us, we should be proud. I watch our people take over the streets of St. Joe and park in front of people's houses, and they block driveways with their floats, and they do all kinds of things. But what I'm most, I'm so warm-hearted about is I watch the residents open their homes. And what I mean by open their homes, they'll say, hey, are you cold? You want to come in for a couple minutes? Or do you need to use a restroom? To some of the kings and queens, because we don't have like restrooms everywhere, but people they trust each other. And that's one of the beautiful things about St. Joe, to have this going on in our city and to be so proud of it. We'd like to call this the crown jewel of the festival, because it is the crown jewel. And we are very, it warms our hearts with our volunteers. We don't have a lot of volunteers working parade day, but we have a lot of volunteers that work within our communities. So they may be working within chairing a community and helping get their community going. And we so appreciate all the volunteers and all the participants, and mostly all the visitors that come out and watch us. This year we were blessed again to have the Pokagon Band and the Four Winds as our sponsor, presenting sponsor. And this parade wouldn't be possible without them. So if you see someone from those organizations, please give them a thank you, because it really means a lot to have their sponsorship, and we wouldn't be able to do it. So with that being said, I might be over my 3 minutes, so I apologize, but I'd like to present you all with our sponsor poster, and it's signed by each one of the queens. And I also have a program in case you didn't get a program. I think it'd be nice for you guys to see what goes into our program. And I thank the citizens of St. Joe, and I thank the visitors, and hope you'll keep supporting the Blossom Time Festival as we roll down the streets in 2027.
Thank you. Thanks, Hannah. Thank you for all the work that you put into this. I know it's a lot.
Congratulations.
I'm going to leave that for you all.
Thank
And
you.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to leave you some programs, and that's for each
Thank
one of you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for allowing us to kind of take over your city, because we do, and we apologize. Sometimes we act like we own it, but we don't. Thank you.
Everybody loves the parade. It's a great festival.
Thank you.
All right. Any other public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Items include the meeting minutes of April 27th, 2026, invoice and tax disbursements, seasonal vendors, special event, downtown sidewalk sales, water and street asphalt patches, and board appointments. What's the pleasure of the commission?
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
All right, Abby, call the roll.
Commissioner Fernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorolla,
Yes.
Commissioner Olry,
Yes.
Commissioner Bettany. Yes. Mayor Thomas.
Yes. All right, item number 10, special event application, family night in the plaza.
So I am actually going to take this one. Paul Knapp had a death in his family and wasn't able to make it this evening. Family Night in the Plaza is a St. Joe Today event, a new event that is designed to replace the Wednesday night market. So they received feedback that there are already a lot of markets that St. Joe Today supports. And instead, they wanted to pivot to a family night. They would have family-oriented programming, dedicated activities that encourage families to stay, play, and interact with our downtown businesses. So it would be Wednesday nights, 5 to 8 p.m. from July 8th to August 12th, centered in Cork Place Plaza and Pleasant Street Plaza. And it would be a weekly rotation of live entertainment, interactive crafts, and family activities, all free of charge to the public. While they are starting in the plaza, their long-term vision is for the event to serve as a catalyst. They anticipate Family Night will eventually spill out into other sectors of downtown, creating a vibrant, multi-block experience that defines our summer midweeks for years to come. But for now, they'll start with the plaza. This has been reviewed by staff, and staff has given approval.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the commission?
Sounds like a great time to me, and staff has no concerns about the logistics. Looking forward to a new event.
Anything else? All right. Yeah, it sounds like a great plan. I support it.
I move to approve the St. Joe Today special event Family Night in the Plaza as presented and to direct staff to issue a special event permit.
Second.
Okay, any public comment on the matter? All right, Abby, call the roll.
Commissioner Sorolla,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Ree,
Yes.
Commissioner Betney, yes, Mayor Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Fernandez.
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 11, downtown parking program. Come on up, Kelly.
Good evening. So following your approval of the downtown parking program on March 16th, City Manager Hackworth and I were approached by a few restaurant owners who had additional concerns about the parking program. One of the primary concerns we heard, was the proposed June 1st start date. The restaurant owners expressed that early June can still feel like shoulder season in the downtown. And based on school calendars and patterns of out-of-state tourism, they noticed that peak visitor traffic typically doesn't begin until mid-June. This mirrors feedback we received from other businesses last summer as well. We also heard concerns about the proposed 7 p.m. end time that was previously approved. Several owners indicated that many businesses are closed by that hour and felt that enforcing paid parking until 7 p.m. could discourage evening visitation. They pointed out that last year's program ended at 5 p.m., so the later end time represented a noticeable change. To ensure that we're not only hearing from one segment of the downtown, I conducted outreach to additional retail and service businesses just to make sure I was hitting everybody. And while those businesses did not raise the same specific concerns regarding the start date or daily end time, they did provide some constructive feedback related to communication, public education, and rollout logistics. And that input's been really helpful as we refine how we're going to message and roll out the 2026 program. So taking all of this into consideration and in an effort to maintain responsiveness to our downtown business community, I'm going to make 2 recommendations tonight. First, I'm going to recommend shifting the program start date from June 1st to June 12th. This better aligns with the onset of the heavier tourist activity and addresses the concerns that we would otherwise be implementing paid parking before the peak season truly begins. Second, I'm going to recommend modifying the daily enforcement hours from 10 a.m. to from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. to 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Believing that this strikes the balance between maintaining the integrity of the parking program during the high demand hours while encouraging more evening activity. The businesses also noted that the activity typically declines in late August with the start of the Berrien County Youth Fair. So at this time, we're not recommending changing the ending of the program early, but we're going to monitor it very closely during that time, leading up to the fair, as summer kind of winds down, and we can evaluate that as that time comes closer. Our goal through the process has been to balance the program consistency and parking management needs with the practical realities faced by our downtown businesses. I think these recommendations achieve that. Any questions?
Thank you.
Kelly, I think some of the downtown businesses were pushing for a 5 p.m. termination of parking, and I know we were at 7, 6 is a compromise.
Mhm.
Can you elaborate on the thought process of why the recommendation is 6 instead of 5?
It was pretty much just a compromise between the two. 5 felt a little early still, and it has to do with the logistics of shift changes on some of the businesses. One business in particular really wanted the 7 p.m. start date, end time, because of they could park for free, or they could come in and park at 3 p.m. and stay until 7 and you could stay all night based on the 3-hour time frame.
Sure.
So 6 p.m. was a good middle ground, if that makes sense. And a lot of business, a lot of our businesses do close early, so we just moved it back a little bit. And in our conversations, they agreed to that. They were comfortable with it.
Another question I have,
Sure.
have we done a have we put together some information as to what the revised revenue estimate would be based on the shorter time, both in terms of when it starts, June 12th, and ending an hour early?
I have not run those numbers yet. I can, but this came up pretty late,
Okay.
right before. I can run those numbers for you.
Okay.
Yep.
And just kind of thinking back to the last meeting
Mhm.
or 2 meetings ago, I think the projection originally was with the longer period of time and the longer hours per day was around $175,000.
I think it was a little higher than that. I thought it was about a 250,
Oh.
250,000, but I could be misremembering.
Pretty sure it was 175.
It was
Well, I
around-
believe you.
Yeah.
I believe both of you, definitely.
Yeah.
Good. Glad I
That's
could
what
help.
was, I didn't see the information, but that's what we said at the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I just start to wonder as we chip away at this program for good reason. I think this is a good move. We start to look at what that revenue generation is.
mhm.
And I wondered then, I really wonder now, is the stigma of paid parking and the challenges that it will inevitably bring, which may be overcome, is it worth the revenue generation that we're getting? And I think the question becomes more and more glaring as we shorten the time, both in terms of calendar and the day, and that revenue generation goes down.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to what is the real goal for the downtown parking program? And I think that the goal remains about turnover and reducing congestion, especially in the highest demand spaces. I say it every time, the revenue is great to have because we can reinvest it in our downtown and our downtown needs it. But the intent was not about maximizing the dollar value. It was about solving a longstanding problem.
Right.
And I think that this still tackles that while making modifications to try to, support businesses and gain insights from what they know about their season and the hours.
Yeah, I still have concerns because Lake Bluff has no paid parking component to it. That's the one that the beachgoers like to use the most. And as far as the downtown area, the one where we're trying to turn those spots more frequently, that could be handled with a time restriction on the parking spot. If it's 2 or 3 hour time restriction, you still have to move and you can fine. Obviously, there'd be a fine if you didn't move. So we could do the same thing without the stigma of paid parking. And again, I think the revenue generation was kind of the wild card. Now all of a sudden we have revenue generation that's going to stay in the downtown, going to stay with the DDA, 80% of it, and money that's sorely needed there. But now it gets to be such a small amount and we're still saddled with the stigma of paid parking. So I still have concerns in general.
What did the parking subgroup say? Did they review this and make recommendations?
It has not.
We didn't
Parking
actually run it
subgroup
by
has
them.
not met with this specific proposal.
This all came up very quickly and we wanted to get it in front of you so that we're getting very short on time implementation. So.
I agree with Commissioner Sorolla. I'm debating if it's even worth it. When I go out in the community, I hear a lot about paid parking, how it's not very popular. And then my main concern is about the construction of the Marquette and the road construction. You spoke with the Buchanan community and they had problems.
Yep.
They lost a lot, 20% of the business or something like that.
They said there would, that's a totally different situation, but they said there's, always the potential to lose those
Businesses.
So I don't know that you can compare the two.
Well, they design their streets, which we are, and we are doing
Mhm.
Marquette's coming, so we have a
Yeah.
little bit of a double whammy.
As with all new things, we have to start this program at some point. So, we haven't even started it, and we're talking about you share, chipping away, making it smaller prior to any, changes. again, have the parking subgroup hasn't, reviewed this. So there's really no, additional data, there's nothing new since the last time we, considered this topic, data wise, there's no fresh data to consider why, make this change. So I tend to hesitate to, make adjustments, to the plan before we have any new actual data to, measure from, as far as usage and such like that. However, I do share, the concerns about the nightlife. I mean, I, think a lot about, I wish things would stay open. There's only a handful of places, that I can, go and after sunset in the summer evening, enjoy some live music, places like Rybel's that stay open, a little longer, but I would love more. So I'm open to kind of trimming back the hours, here, to kind of compromise with the, the meet in the middle in this particular approach, as far as the timing. Because I agree, it dies a lot faster than I would like it to. I would love more activity going on later in the evenings. So
That's where I'm at with the data. We don't have, I've said it all along, we haven't rolled this out long enough to have any of that data. And so that's what I'm looking for. So I'm almost hesitant to make any changes now, but in the name of compromise, I think it goes a long way to give a nod to some of the concerns that have been brought to our attention. So I'm inclined to prove the changes here and then see what the data shows as the summer goes on.
I have the same inclination. I'd make a motion to approve.
I have one more thing to say. Then. As this comes around, I'm gonna vote to approve this because I think it's a step in the right direction, but I'm still opposed to parking and I think it should actually be moved to 5 o'clock. But I think incrementally, this is a step in the right direction. So I'm gonna vote to approve it, but I also want to be on record that I still oppose the paid parking and I think if we were gonna make the move, it should be from 7 o'clock to 5 o'clock, not 7 o'clock to 6 o'clock.
Any other comments, questions?
No, I think like I share the same sentiment that a lot of you do, that it's hard to make these changes without the data, and I want to be, again, just, we got to be somewhere in the middle, and I think that this is probably a good start, but I'm not thrilled.
Move to approve the resolution to amend the 2026 downtown parking program as presented.
Support. Any public comment on the matter? Coming up.
My name is Lee Losi. I'm a citizen and a resident. And I'm speaking as a resident. I guess one thing I want to do is say, is there something that shouldn't have changed when we started doing the parking? And that is the convenience of the residents. And the fact that we have lived here for a long time. We've parked from season to season, following the rules as they change from season to season. And I don't think that I should be any more convenienced than I already am. So I would like to propose that they take out the part that says residents can't park in the street. That's something that needs to be slashed from the whole idea. I don't know why that came up. I don't know why anybody wanted to put restrictions on us, but I've heard it a couple of times.
I think that it might be important to clarify.
Yeah, and that would be fine, and that's why I'm up here asking, because I'm concerned about that.
So the same way, and my understanding is the same way that we all register our cars to use, the beach and the parks and things like that, that pass also works for the downtown parking.
Right.
Okay, so I can still park in front of my apartment all weekend long as I always have.
And as a resident, as a
Okay.
tax-paying resident, there's no additional charge for
Yeah,
residents.
there was never.
Well, there shouldn't be. Thank you.
So-
I appreciate that part.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to you separately, Lee, if it's helpful.
Okay.
But residents can park for free in the downtown in the 175 paid spaces.
Okay.
They will still need to adhere to the time restrictions. It's 3-hour parking. All the other parking
Oh, so you're
is,
saying that I can't park all day in front of my apartment all weekend as I
I don't know where
always
your
have?
apartment is. Is it
Well,
in the
we're not going to
downtown?
discuss exactly where my apartment is right now.
Sure.
But what we
Is
need
it
to
in the
discuss
downtown?
is that I can park in front of my apartment as I have been for the last 5 years and change as seasons change. I get that.
Is your apartment downtown
Yes. I am a resident
of the downtown?
of downtown.
Okay.
This
let's-
is what we are doing here.
Yeah. Let's talk
today, and when we
separately,
come to the
but
meetings, it's about downtown, right? So when I say I'm a resident,
just,
that's kind of what I mean.
just want to make sure that I'm speaking to it appropriately. Everyone will have to adhere to the time limits in the downtown, which has always been the case.
Right,
And
okay.
we can talk about the specific location separately if
But
that's
we're not
helpful.
talking about 3-hour time limits then, is what you're telling me. You know what I mean? By the time limits that we've always done, that residents should always be able to, we should be able to conduct ourselves as we always have.
It's hard for me to answer that without a little bit more information. If it's a 3-hour parking, whether you're a resident or not, you will have to adhere to 3-hour parking. That's the
So
way the
as
program is
long as
currently
I have
designed.
lived there, and these signs were changed last year when the parking all changed, they put up different signs, took down the old ones, and make it sound as if the residents are not allowed to park in the streets and that we have to adhere to the 3-hour limits. I don't think we should have to do that. I think we should be able to do as we always have been, as always have done. And if that's the case, then we need to make it clear to all of our residents that that is the case. Because, you know, I'm obviously hearing other people talk and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's, so for the residents, that's something that we need to get cleared up. But other than that, and I do agree with Commissioner Sorolla that it doesn't seem like it's going to be generate a lot of money for the DDA at this point. So that was one of the things I was concerned as well, is how are they going to make some money if they need to? And I'm happy as long as we always have driving downtown. I don't want to see it turned into a walking all over every place downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Nathaniel Bishop, 518 Broad Street, Rybells. I just found out about this, not the meeting, but that we were on the agenda a few hours ago, so not quite as prepared as I would like to be. But a lot of what I'm going to read here, I've already shared with Emily and Kelly, but I want us to make sure that I share it with you all as well. So first, I want to thank City Manager Emily Hackworth and Development Director Kelly Ewalt for taking the time to meet with us on multiple occasions and genuinely listen to the concerns of downtown businesses. While we may not agree on every aspect of the paid parking program, I do appreciate the willingness to have open dialogue and consider adjustments based on the information and data we presented. I also want to be on the record as saying I do not want paid parking in downtown St. Joseph. I believe the program will negatively impact downtown businesses regardless of what adjustments are made. What we do not fully know yet is the extent of the impact. Although the proposed changes still fall short of what many of us requested, any movement toward a shorter season and reduced hours is appreciated. However, I do want to reiterate our concern regarding late August and continuing the program through Labor Day weekend. Historically, business activity changes significantly once the Berrien County Youth Fair begins and summer tourism starts to taper off. Based on the sales data and seasonal statistics we've presented, in our case, probably about 15 years, we believe the evidence clearly supports ending the program earlier. I also want to emphasize how important those final weeks of August are for many downtown businesses. For seasonal businesses like ours, those weeks are critical in helping us survive the long winter months and when revenue drops substantially. At the same time, many businesses began losing college students and seasonal employees in mid-August, which is another clear indicator that downtown activity is already slowing. If the primary goals of paid parking are congestion management and parking turnover, then late August simply does not present the same conditions that exist during the height of the summer. This is also the time when locals begin returning downtown more frequently because parking access naturally becomes easier. Because this is still effectively the full year of the program, we respectfully ask the Commission tonight to reconsider maintaining the current Labor Day weekend ending. If we already know this program is likely to hurt downtown businesses to some degree, then extending it into a period where activity is already declining seems unnecessary and potentially reckless given the importance of those final weeks of summer to many businesses. I also think it is important to reflect on the stated vision and mission of the parking subgroup, which specifically references supporting the economic vitality of downtown businesses and improving access to local businesses. If downtown businesses are experiencing measurable financial losses during the implementation of this program, particularly losses similar to what many of us experienced during the beginning of paid parking last year, then I believe the commission has a responsibility to seriously evaluate whether the program is truly aligning with those goals and whether it is working as intended, especially during periods like late August when congestion and parking demand are already declining. And I also just want to reiterate what Commissioner Sorolla said. The stigma of paid parking seems to be the one thing that I know I'm very fearful of. And I talk to people every day in the restaurant and have yet to hear from one person who thinks this is a good thing. So another thing that I would like to ask, I know I can't have a dialogue with you, but what is the plan when all of these businesses potentially may come down here in the middle third week of June and we're telling you measurable losses just like last year? Are you guys just going to say, well, we're just going to have to get a year of data and then reevaluate it next year? Because if you do that, our formula is we make as much money as we can in the summer and we put that money aside and then we go through the winter losing money. We lose money in winter, but we want to stay open for our residents, our community, and our employees. We won't be able to do that. And I know it's just not our business. I've talked to many businesses that are going to have the hard decision to not be open in the winter. So I hope that you guys are very responsive if we come down here and we're telling you, and we're more than happy to, no one likes to give people their financial numbers. But if we come to you and say, look at this, is there a plan? Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment?
Similar to Rybel's, Jim Kramer from Shoes and Tim's too. And again, I oppose paid parking and have. But if we have to kind of come to some consensus, and this is the best we can do, it's the best we can do. The questions I have, and I shared those with Emily, that in regards to some of the things that, the practical things that will happen that I saw happen last year, where we have signs all over the place that make the town look horrible along the streets. No one knows what they are, what to do. That somehow those need to be thought through in a better way, which I'm sure you're going to do. And then again, the machines where the people use them and the difficult times that they had using those things, if those things need to be corrected. And like all of us and all of you, I'm concerned that our brand for St. Joe becomes paid parking instead of the best beach town around, instead of a lot of other good things. And then also what happened last year with Shoes, the 3 weeks that we had paid parking, $20,000 a week in lost revenue. Every week for 3 weeks, $60,000. I'm sure it's similar at Rybel's and the Buck and several others. If that happens, let's say that we do this is probably a minimum level for you, and it changes to we're only losing $10,000 a week. Does that hurt you? It hurts us. You know, I think it really hurts the whole town. That's what I'm saying. And there needs to be a plan, whatever that is, and nobody likes to think about that. How would we pull the plug? How would we stop this? That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Other public comment? Okay. All right. Seeing no other public comment, we have a motion and a second. Abby, call the roll.
Commissioner Olry,
Yes.
Commissioner Betney,
Yes.
Mayor Thomas.
Yes,
Commissioner Fernandez.
Yes.
Commissioner Sorolla.
Yes.
thank you. All right, Kiwanis Park ADA parking improvements.
Good evening. During the approval process for the placement and installation of the new Kaleidoscope Playground in Kiwanis Park, the city committed to improving the ADA parking in the park. As part of that process, city staff met with a consultant who specializes in ADA for a recommendation on those improvements. With that information, we prepared a request for a proposal, issued that RFP on March 25th with responses due back May 5th. We received 5 responses to the RFP from various companies in the area, with Chorba Asphalt Paving of Dowagiac, the low bidder, in the amount of $42,686. That price is the base bid and bid alternate. Should be noted, the bid for this project came in favorably and well under the budgeted amount, which was about $100,000. As such, city staff asked Chorba if they would honor the pricing for some additional work, and they agreed. So we added an additional 60 feet of asphalt and a small section of sidewalk to the project. These additions are to repair a couple of deteriorated sections that fell just outside the original limits of the project. With that add-on, the total price for the work is $48,202. We've worked with Chorba Asphalt Paving previously. We've been very happy with the work, and we look forward to working with them on this project. Any questions?
Just have a comment. I want to applaud you and your group for approaching Chorba, asking for the additional. I think that's something I'm always an advocate that we work with the vendor. They're the vendor of choice. And then we asked them to do a little bit more in this case. They did it for the same price. To me, that's the same as getting a little bit of a discount. So I applaud the effort on that, and that's fantastic. Great to hear.
I have a question just on the map here, the mock-up drawing where it's got the accessible spots, and then there's the kind of shaded out area to give that extra room for a wheelchair. I'm no expert in it, but how do you decide on which side of the parking spot to put that on?
The like van accessible spot?
Yeah.
Well, I think it just comes down to, the space and how it all fits, really.
Yeah.
I mean, but in this case, I think we tried to line it up with the existing parking or the sidewalk there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a sidewalk that goes into the playground, so we tried to line up that aisle with that sidewalk so that it all aligns.
Yeah.
So
I
sometimes
just-
you look at it like, where is it best fit and what makes the most sense?
Yeah.
in this case.
I just see the 3 spots and one has access on the left, one has it on both sides, and one has it on the right. And then there's that looks like, is that an open spot right there? This one here? That's not accessible.
I don't think that's a spot.
That's not even a spot. And then there's a whole shaded area that's even bigger. So I was just wondering if the mock-up could be a little bit more sensible to give more space, because there's a non-handicap spot.
So there's a weird shape to that parking lot that kind of throws off the distances for, you have to meet certain parameters for the parking stalls. So the lot's kind of got a little weird shape to it. So it throws it off. There's also a pole that's in the middle of one of those spots. And I think
Oh, I see it.
so that messes up one of those spots a little bit as well. And then, but yeah, so the pole is what's kind of becomes hashed out, but those are just regular parking spots right there.
Yeah.
Right now, what we use them as is basically 5-minute parking. So people can pull in, pay for the parking, and then move to another spot or move to the back lot.
I thought this same thing when I looked at it, Brooke, and one of the things, it seems like most of the accessibility doors are on the right. A lot of them have them on both sides. Then I started thinking about it. There's always the opportunity to back in to accommodate whichever. So really,
Yeah. So there's options.
yeah, there's options.
Yeah.
But I thought the same thing.
I think best case scenario from a ADA advocate perspective would be to have it on both sides. I think that's certainly the preference. And we do the best that we can
Sure.
to balance it. And
We're able to
fit
get
what
more
we can.
spots this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Versus less.
Yeah.
But the company will, I'm assuming, do a thorough job of making sure that this is according to current law and make sure
Right.
it's,
It'll,
okay.
yeah, the layout. So the way they will paint it the way it's laid out based on the parameters of the spaces. So yes,
Great.
it's essentially, it's going to mirror what's existing. But it's not changing much. It just, we're improving the asphalt there that is very rough and makes it difficult for like walkers, chairs to roll across. The grade and everything is good. It's just the asphalt is so rough, it's not smooth and easy for somebody to roll or push across.
I see.
Still subject to change a little bit on the design. I gotcha.
I move to accept the proposal from Chorba Asphalt Paving, Inc. of Dowagiac, Michigan, in the amount of $48,202 for sidewalk and asphalt paving, and authorize the city manager to execute the appropriate documents.
Second. Any public comment on the matter? Okay, Abby, call the roll.
Commissioner Bentley?
Yes.
Mayor Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorolla?
Yes.
Commissioner Ori?
Yes.
Thanks again for that
Thank
extra
you.
work on that, Greg. It's awesome that they
All right, now
included more.
for the 2026 Sidewalk Replacement Project Award.
Okay, so city staff is requesting to award the 2026 sidewalk replacement project. This is a biennial construction program. That means we construct it every other year. We divide the city into 4 different areas or quadrants. So we get back to each one of the quadrants once every 8 years. The replacement project this year is in quadrant 2, that's east of Main Street and north of Harrison Avenue. The criteria within the quadrant is a tripping hazard of 1 inch or more. We also do urgent repairs citywide. The criteria there is 1.5 inches of a tripping hazard or more. You can see that we're looking at about 186 squares in the base bid for that and about 114 in the base bid for the urgent repairs. Our government immunity ends at 2 inches. So if we have it 2 inches or more, then we're really susceptible to getting trip and fall claims. There is a caveat to that we really are supposed to be maintaining our sidewalks with a regular program as well. It helps in that defense. We do work with MMRMA on this program, our risk carrier. The property owners are invoiced 50% of the cost. That's according to a longstanding policy with the city commission paying, well, the city paying 50% more. We budgeted that way for decades. We're also asking to award 2 sidewalk ramps at Corton Elm and Corton Park, and that's because we have tripping hazards that are basically at the urgent criteria at those locations as well. We actually bid another 3 locations, but the bids came in high, which you will see. So we're not requesting to hire or to undertake those. Can you go to the next slide, please? So the single bid we received was $250,675. That came in over the engineer's estimate of about $190,000 and slightly above what we were projecting the budget to be at $250,000. We already had an inkling with current construction environment that this was going to go higher. The bids are always higher when we only receive a single bid. You can see in the chart there that the general tendency in 2018, 22, and 26 is they are higher. In 2018, things kind of took a turn for us where we had to advertise the project 3 times just to get a single bid. This isn't a project that contractors are clamoring for. It's very inefficient, moving around, hard work, that sort of thing. So we almost have to beg contractors to bid it. When we do get 2 bids in 2020 and 24, again, that's an example. And most recently in 2024, we were able to get B&Z to bid it for the first time. We got pretty darn good pricing relative. But we did talk to them. They're overtasked amongst some other reasons, so they didn't bid it this year. Anlon's bids have increased relatively consistent, now granted at a pretty rapid rate. That's why I put those lines in the graph just to show you that had we had to award to them in 2022, in 2024, that it would have been quite a bit higher. So because of the high costs, the commission requested staff to investigate alternative methods of implementing the sidewalk maintenance program to reduce the cost. And some of the things, looking at grinding sidewalks rather than replacement, or hiring additional public works staff and insourcing the program. So next slide. So on the grinding side, we typically do not grind sidewalk as part of our program, and there's multiple reasons for that. One of them is accessibility. Grinding hazards or tripping hazards greater than 1/2 inch require significantly more grinding to meet ADA standards, and I'll cover that a little bit more below. Grinding is typically used as temporary or interim measure until replacement can be scheduled. So it doesn't really address tree roots. The trees heave. When we do remove the roots and replace the square, we see those sidewalks stay put for quite some time. After grinding the concrete, the surface is more susceptible to deterioration and spalling. Concrete is a porous material, so if you open that up, it actually the aggregate as part of the ingredients, if you will can pop out from that. And then we actually have some thin sidewalks in the city. There aren't that many, but probably more than you think. And those are just simply not, you can't grind them. There's not enough depth there to make that work. So getting to the specifics on if we're going to try to meet the ADA requirements, the strict ADA requirements, you have to do it on a 1/20 slope. And what that means is if you have a 1-inch tripping hazard, you're actually grinding 20 inches into the square. If it's 1.5, like for an urgent repair, you're actually doing half the width of the square with the grinding. It's difficult to do because you have to maintain a consistent slope. And obviously that adds time and labor to the cost. So next slide, please. So on the Public Works insourcing side, we did hold multiple meetings with Public Works and the engineering departments to look at the feasibility. And based on those discussions, we would like to run a pilot project parallel to the 2026 replacement program. And that is to determine if it's economic or feasible for us to do this, take on the full program in the future. The project would include pulling about 30 squares from Anlon's contract. We would grind several of the squares and we would replace the remaining squares, and we'll track that replacement and repair rate costs using CityWorks. We have that since we implemented the asset management plan and are using CityWorks. We're able to, track the equipment, material, and labor, so we can get pretty granular and give some pretty good data on how all that works. So this work will be done with existing staff, so we'd be able to do that, this summer and see how it all works. For a future, if we were to do this in the future, we'd be looking at, if we insource in the future, the sidewalk work would be done on an annual basis in order to keep up with it. We would likely need to, I won't say likely, we would have to hire at least one additional staff member. Again, we'll have to just take a look at those numbers once we've developed them. And we do plan to report back to the commission in the fall, early winter timeframe with what we found, our findings on that, and what the recommended steps are. So next slide. So this is just a breakdown of the engineer's estimate versus Anlon's bid, as well as what we budgeted. So the one thing in the motion, we did note in there that we will not award to Anlon unless they're willing to remove those 30 sidewalk squares so that we can run that pilot project. We have talked to them and they said they will do it. So before we issue a notice to proceed, what we do is we award the contract, we get the agreement all ready to go. And at the same time we award the agreement, we do a change order. It's all clean that way. So are there any questions?
In the pilot program, you're gonna take a good cross-section of all the different type of conditions we might ultimately see. There's gonna be some that'll be ground, which are a smaller lip and some that are bigger, that are full replacement. What's the metric you're gonna use for grinding versus replacement? What's the height disparity?
Well, for one thing, we're looking at doing it in the urgent repair area, just because that way it's all in one area and then we
Yep.
don't get mixed up between the two. My thought right now is we're gonna go with the 30 inches that we're gonna grind. Now, if we can find some other criteria that says it's acceptable to go narrower, we will certainly do that, and we're looking for that. I do worry anytime our eyes kind of roll in the back of our heads, quite honestly, whenever you say ADA, because the requirements are so very stringent and we want to meet them. But if we can find something to hang our hand on that allows us to reduce that, we will reduce that.
I'm gonna find you an example of 1 to 12 instead of 1 to 20.
Okay. Again, I welcome it, and especially from an attorney that will defend us.
Okay.
So,
Good.
I'm assuming you're gonna measure time, how long it takes to grind and all that.
yes, again, that CityWorks program, when they go out, they log it all. They send out the crew, and the labor time is included in that. All the hourly rates are in there. We use, MDOT has I believe, Schedule C that has the equipment costs. So that's all rated and it's plugged right in there. So when we plug in what we've used out there, it'll spit out, we can spit out all kinds of numbers. I used it during the lead service line replacement program because we insourced some of the work when we did replacements, when it made sense, and I was able to get SRF funding reimbursement for that. It was kind of few and far between, but when we needed to do it. So this has been done before.
Yeah, I think,
Well, I just want to thank you because I'm excited to see what the results are and see what the city staff can do and good quality work.
yeah, I mean, I think there's probably enough, market data and stuff to, research the, the grinding versus replacement strategy and whatnot, but I'm very interested in, the idea of in-housing this, and can we do it ourselves, and expanding what we can do ourselves and stuff. So, very much looking forward to that. Thank you for all the work you've put into this, Tim.
Thank you.
Tim, will the pilot program, I know it's gonna be the most severe. Will it be a good representation of proximity? Because proximity of work is gonna very, very much lead into the efficiency, right? If you're running all over the city doing a square, the numbers won't be as accurate. Will we do it in such a fashion where it's gonna be a good representation of proximity, so we can, those numbers will be, I guess, more accurate, will reflect more accurate data?
It's a good question. And like I had our intern working on maps and how we're going to divide it out. We are not going to be able to remove all the urgent repairs from the project.
Right.
So, and we do inspector daily reports, so we're tracking what they're doing and unit costs and everything else. So we should be able to get a pretty good comparison for like to like
Okay.
in doing that.
I just want to make sure that's something you thought of. It
Yeah,
sounds like you have.
It is something we thought of. Some of the squares that we're assigning to Public Works, I would call oddballs. They're fairly easy. Quite honestly, there's a couple others that are really difficult, and it's going to take more material.
Mhm.
And I think that we're going to have to prorate that in order to. I think that we can do that.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Thanks.
I move to award the 2026 sidewalk replacement project based bid and alternates 1 and 2 to Amlin Corporation contingent on the removal of 30 sidewalk squares from the contract, amend the budget in the account 204-444-967 to the bid amount of $250,000, $250,675, and to authorize the city manager to sign the contract on behalf of the city.
Second. Any public comment? All right, Abby, call the roll.
Mayor Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Fernandez.
Yes.
Commissioner Sorolla,
Yes.
Commissioner Ulrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Bentley.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay, we have a public hearing next. It's 2026, 2027 fiscal year budget and millage rates. We're going to go ahead and open the public hearing at 6:55 PM.
Okay.
Take it away.
So this is the normal budget package. There are 3 agenda items in a row. The first one is the public hearing. We'll go through the presentation, allow public comment. Then we'll close the public hearing. The next one will be approval of the resolution to approve the budget and the capital improvement plan. And on the agenda items, also the city manager letter, which doesn't need approval, but just for your information. And then the third one is the first reading of the ordinance for the millage rates. So let's start with the presentation. So this is just a repeat of what we've seen a couple times. These are the funds and the groupings. And it's important to note that the governmental funds are different than the proprietary funds. We've talked about that. Next slide, Emily. This is what a citywide tax bill would look like. This is last year or this current year tax collections. If every single option of our taxes is on here, all those added up equals the $31.58 million. And I want to show on the right is the pie chart of just how small the winter tax season is. The only thing on there is the county special millages and our own special assessments. Otherwise, we would just have a summer tax season. So of all that, the only thing that stays in the city is the 38.7%. Everything else goes elsewhere. The next slide only has the distribution. So this is the same total as the slide we saw 2 slides ago, but this is how it's all distributed. So we have the airport, then we have the millages for the county, the Benton Harbor schools, the RISA, the state education tax, LMC, and then the green box, that's the city, that stays here, and then the St. Joe schools. So we have this is how it's all distributed. Okay, here are the millage values that we're asking for. The first one is the general operating, which also includes the 3.55 mils for the streets. That funds the city general fund and most of the operations of the city, and then the projects that are funded from the 204 fund for the streets. Then we have the library millage. That is being reduced because of Headley, so I'll go over that in a little bit. Then we have the band fund, which we're not asking for a change, and that funds the operations of the band. The rubbish fund, we're not asking for a change there either, and that funds the rubbish operations. The airport, which is the Headley reduced rate. So remember last time they were here talking, requesting for the renewal. This is what will actually be levied. We have to use the data available to us because before May when it was approved. So the ballot language will say more than this, but this is what will be levied. And that funds the operations of the airport as they were telling us about last time. Then we have the debt service fund. This is the last year for that. That's paying off of the CSO loan. And then the DDA. So on the right-hand side, I have the change from the prior year. So only the only change that we are in control of is the debt service fund. I'm lowering that just a touch. Everything else, those other 3 changes are because of Headley. And then I have the Headley reduction factor and then the maximum allowed. So at the top line there it says 0.3810. That's the room you have for the general fund. So in 3 or 4 years perhaps, the general fund will be lowered by Headley also if trends continue. Okay, next slide. So then this is the calculation for the Headley reduction. And then Warren Parrish from the County Equalization, he publishes these forms, and the L4034 is on the county website if you want to take a look. But the formula is last year's taxable value minus the losses times the inflation rate divided by the current year taxable value minus additions. And we do all that math, we get to a rollback factor for the city of 0.9937 and then DDA of 0.9839. And then the next slide is, this is the state letter which controls statewide the inflation rate. It's small to see there, but in the middle is 2.7%. And then we have the last page of that lists the inflations for the prior years. And that's out of our control. That's what the state publishes and what we have to do, and that's statewide. So then factor all that in. These are the taxes we're expecting to bring in. And I'm showing this in a bar graph because I want to demonstrate just how much compared to the other millages the general brings in. So the first column there is the general fund. That includes the street, the 3.55 mils. And then everything else is just fractions of that. So then here's a list of the special acts we have right now. We have a couple CFTs, 3 IFTs, the one Oprah that's brand new. We did that last year and that starts this year. And they didn't list the brownfields or the DD or the DDA because we've been talking about that so much. But on this slide, we have the parcel, and then when they expire, Jacob put this together for us. Okay, now transferring out of tax or transitioning out of tax, we're into the water rates. And the next 3 slides we've seen several times already, but I want to go over them again. This is the system water rate increase. We did 5%. That was 2 meetings ago. And then I have the rates themselves, the increase, and then where they're ending now and the change. And then just like we saw before, to the right is a history of those rates. This is the sewer fund, which we talked about last time with a 20% increase. Same thing, each rate, the addition, the new rate, change, and then the history. Same thing we saw in the last presentation. And then lastly is the city water rate, same thing, 11% increase. And then this is that same exact chart we saw last time. You put all that together for our water rates. And it's 90 gallons per day per person. And a typical household size of 3.2 people. 1 CCF is 748 gallons. You get a change to the bill of $57.57. My particular household, I don't live in the city, I live in the township, but I am just about 3 units. So the AWWA rates are pretty good. We have a household of 3. So that's 34 units there, and we do about 30. So that's a pretty good estimate. If you use less water, obviously you'll pay less. Use more, then you'll pay more. Okay, now this is citywide proposed revenue per the fund category that we saw at the top. Now this has changed since the last time you've seen it. This is just in one place. The enterprise funds and internal service revenue funds are fee-based. Everything else is a governmental fund. So now we're moving over to expense. This is the general fund expense by department. And this is where our priorities are. As we saw earlier, the general fund brings in most of the tax revenue, and this is where most of that tax revenue goes. The largest one is, of course, the public safety department, 4.1% for fire and 37% for the public safety department itself. Parks is another big department location. And then in the finance area, there's a transfer line where it says there's 2503,700. That'll be explained in a slide coming up, but that's the money leaving the general fund to other funds. This will just show you where our expense goes for the general fund. So here are the transfers citywide. We start with the general fund, and it goes to 4 different places. And keep in mind, when we're talking general fund and the cemetery fund, those are combined in our financials, but they're broken out here in the budget. The general fund will fund those areas. And then the major streets fund always transfers to the local streets fund. That's allowed by Act 51. There's a certain amount we can do that is under that amount, but that's the amount we've historically done. And then like we talked about a couple of meetings ago, the municipal street fund really is the driver for the Act 51 funds, both of those 202 and 203. Without that fund, we wouldn't be able to do nearly what we do. Okay, now here's the personnel expense citywide. So the bar chart is progressive through the years with next year recommended. the compensation, and then the benefits. And then the pie chart is a breakdown of the benefits and the values for those. Now, this is a chart I like to show because just like the other chart, the taxable revenue chart, the majority of our personnel expense is in the general fund. Everything else is pretty much ancillary except for the system water fund. So when you think about the service we provide, most of that service comes from the general fund. Okay, now this is a debt margin slide. So during the first study session, we reviewed all of our debt. And then this is the end result. Estimated debt outstanding next year, end of next year, is $51.3 million. We remove $48.9-ish million from the debt margin because it's fee-based. So then the estimated debt limit is $97.5-ish million. Removing the net eligible for the debt limit leaves a margin of $95 million. And then down below, I've listed each fund or each loan, and then the equivalency for the library, the fire truck, and then the 7236, which are included in the margin. And the city manager letter also has this slightly skewed chart. Okay, now here are the top 20 projects we have a budget next year, and then I've indicated which ones we're already committed to. The big one, of course, is CSO storage, as we've been talking, and then lead service, Main Street, the Napier project, and then the Upton Phase 2. And this is from the capital improvement plan, just truncated in the top 20.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
you. Okay, and then this is, just like we talked last time, we went through each fund. This is a summary of each fund. We have the revenue expense, the deficit or surplus, and then the ending fund balance we're projecting for next year. And this is probably the most important thing I want everyone to take away is where each fund will end next year. I want to just point out real quick, the Major Street Fund 204, that deficit is because of the projects we have ongoing. The Rubbish Fund has a deficit, but we are fully comfortable spending that down. We also understand that next year, next tax season, that this one coming up with the next one after, we'll have the full 425 properties on our roll. Right now, they're in that brownfield.
Mm-hmm.
Next slide, please, Emily. The Capital Projects Fund, the 401 fund, that is funded by a surplus from the general fund. So as we were talking last time, the only way we can really spend more out of there is to have extra from the general fund. And then the last slide is a repeat that we've seen from the prior water presentations, the ending fund balance. And I want to point out that those are now including depreciation, whereas in prior years they did not. And same for the internal service funds. So that is your budget in a presentation nutshell.
Thank you. We can move on to city commission questions.
None from me. We had the study session last time and largely unchanged. So
Yeah, no change.
Right.
no changes,
Right.
not just largely.
Yeah, great job, Ben. Excellent. There's one thing as I was reading through this that I just think it's worth pointing out. There was a study in here contrasting 2002 to 2026 projected. And lots of things have changed. Obviously, the cost of water has gone up very highly disproportionately because of all the regulation that there is out there. Same thing with sewer, things that are out of our control. It's regulated. But the thing that really jumped off the page to me was we got 22% of our budget from the state largely through grant money in 2002. In 2026, it's 8%.
Mm-hmm.
That just jumped off the page. I just thought it was worth pointing out.
Yep.
We're continually asked to do so much more with so much less. is challenging. We have a revenue problem. We're always looking at the spending side of things, but there's only so much stuff we can cut. We have to continue to find ways to generate revenue. And hopefully the state will help us by taking some of the handcuffs off and allow a smaller municipality like ourselves to come up with some creative ways, without sending money to Lansing and then begging them to send it back, because that's not working.
Yeah, to further those points, I mean, since we're talking about it, right? Like, what can we do to participate in our own rescue, right? Like, we need more people. Continuing to lose people, it's never been more important. Like Commissioner Strolla said, we have to still do more things, keep up with the same infrastructure with fewer and fewer people. Like, that is unsustainable. So,
Yeah.
all that.
And it
works
goes
together.
to, future discussions, we're gonna be talking about additional dwelling units, ADUs. We're gonna be talking about ways we can maximize space and population density within a defined footprint, which can't get any bigger.
Right.
And those are gonna be great topics going forward. And I think we're all eager to
Right.
tackle those, and all in the name of doing what's best for our city and hopefully improving the revenue side.
Yeah.
I agree. Like,
Absolutely.
Commissioner, sorry, I keep going, but like Commissioner Strolla just said, like, we've got plenty of things that we are thinking of and want to do, and some more state funding and grants to help us do that and raise that percentage back to 2002 levels wouldn't be unwelcome. So.
Yeah. Thanks again, Ben. It's an excellent job
Yeah.
and so well done and very understandable.
I move.
Well, we need public comments next. Any public comments? All right, no public comments, no applicant response, so we will close the public hearing. We need a motion and a roll call for that.
I move to close the public hearing.
Support.
Abby, call the roll.
Commissioner Fernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorolla,
Yes.
Commissioner Olry,
Yes.
Commissioner Vetni,
Yes.
Mayor Thomas.
Yes. All right, that concludes the public hearing at 7:13 PM. And now we are on to resolution of the fiscal year 26-27 budget and SIP.
Yep. So in this is the budget book, same as you saw last time, no changes for this. Then we have the capital improvement plan. No changes from this from last time. We just talked about that last study session. And the other document here is the city manager letter. That does not need approval. It's just for information. And there's two things I want to point out about the resolution. We have changed from last year. The first is we've incorporated the 1% tax admin fee that we've always done in a separate resolution into this one. And I did that because it's basically the same thing. I can't do one without the other. So I figured it'd be easier to do them both now. And the other thing is we've added a new authority for Emily to transfer within departments up to $20,000 to match the purchasing policy. And the purpose of that is to, 2 years ago, not this last year, but 2 years ago, we had an overdrawn budget in the general fund by less than $100. And I want to try and capture that with this ability so we don't have to do that going forward. That's the purpose.
Makes sense.
Makes good sense.
Great.
If nobody else has questions, then I would move to approve the resolution adopting the 2026-2027 fiscal year budget, capital improvement plan, and collection of a 1% property tax administration fee allowed under MCL 211.44.
Support.
Any public comment? Abby, call the roll.
Commissioner Sorolla,
Yes.
Commissioner Olry,
Yes.
Commissioner Vetni,
Yes.
Mayor Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Fernandez.
Yes.
All right, last but not least, the resolution fiscal year 26-27 appropriations ordinance, first reading.
Yeah, first reading. So we'll read the values now. Next time we do the second reading, and then this will be adopted. So I'll go through real quick. The same information we saw on the slide. The general operating is 14.7900 mils, and that's for the general operating in the city and the streets 3550 mils transfer. Then we'll have a library fund for 0.7607 mils, a band fund of 0.2500 mils, the rubbish fund of 1.9155 mils, the airport authority of 0.2426 mils, and the CSO debt of 0.4750, and then the DDA at 1.8925.
Okay, any questions?
I move to approve the resolution setting the fiscal year 2026, 2027 millage rates to be levied on real and personal property within the city of St. Joseph, giving a first reading to the appropriations ordinance.
Support.
Any public comment? All right, Abby, call the roll.
Commissioner Olry,
Yes.
Commissioner Vetni,
Yes.
Mayor Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Fernandez.
Yes.
Commissioner Sorolla.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Ben. Thanks for all your work on this. All right, that concludes our agenda. We can move along to city manager comments.
Thank you. I apologize. I've lost my voice, but I want to start by thanking Steve and the Department of Public Safety, as well as Greg and the Department of Public Works for all of their fabulous work preparing for and supporting Blossom Time. It was a wonderful day on Saturday. They are very much behind the scenes, and I really appreciate it. I am also talking very slowly because Tim went to get something, and he's going to be right back. But the thing he went to get is going to help us celebrate Mike Sorolla's 60th birthday.
Oh, no.
Happy birthday, Commissioner Sorolla. I have had a very hard time not wishing you a happy birthday sooner today, but we are very excited to celebrate this milestone with you. Your wife provided cake because she is lovely like that. And everyone who is here is welcome to stay after for a very small celebration in honor of Commissioner Sorolla.
I'd like to point
Thank
out,
you.
although this is 60, I don't feel a day over 58 and a half. And also, one quick comment. Thank you to Steve for the same reasons Emily said, and Greg we are all cleaning up our yards after a long winter, and to have the city look as good as it did this early in the year, large kudos to you and your staff. City looked great on Saturday.
Did you have any other city manager
That was
comments?
it.
Okay,
That was it. I
other
was
commission
just
comments? Any others? No. I think the only event coming up soon is the Memorial Day Parade, which is the 22nd. It is, not the 29th. Okay, the 22nd at noon, right down no,
Oh, Steve says I'm wrong.
Lori's Place run the Saturday. What was it?
Police Memorial.
Police Memorial, yes, that's right.
And then Memorial.
All right.
That's on the 22nd at noon? Okay.
Lots happening.
Farmers markets in a couple weeks. Not this one, but next.
Oh, good. All right, summer's
Ready.
about to pop off, so in a good way.
Exciting.
All right, we will conclude this evening so we can have some cake at 7:19 p.m. Happy birthday.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.